Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. A suspect has been apprehended in the assassination of far-right activist Charlie Kirk.
A breaking news update now. Authorities are learning more about the mindset of the man accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Andres Gutierrez reports for us from Utah, where investigators are trying to get the accused killer to talk.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him.
Authorities took this man, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, into custody late Thursday. Sources tell CBS News Robinson's father saw the photos released by authorities and confronted his son. The father then reached out to a youth pastor close with the family who contacted the U.S. Marshals.
Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years.
Investigators believe Robinson acted alone when he fired a single shot, piercing Kirk in the neck. Video from the FBI shows what appears to be Robinson jumping off a rooftop at Utah Valley University after the shooting. President Trump announced the arrest on Fox News and called for Robinson to face the ultimate punishment.
I hope he gets the death penalty. What he did, Charlie Kirk was the finest person. He didn't deserve this.
Kirk's murder drew bipartisan condemnation and calls to tone down the rhetoric often blamed for political violence.
This is our moment. Do we escalate or do we find an off-ramp?
Authorities did not speak to a motive, but say bullet casings recovered from the rifle believed to have been the murder weapon could shed light on Robinson's thinking. One was engraved with "Hey Fascist, Catch." Robinson is being held without bail. The Utah County Attorney's Office says it will file formal charges next week. Andres Gutierrez, CBS News, Orem, Utah.
Now, according to reports, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson has been taken into custody and is being charged with the alleged assassination of far-right activist Charlie Kirk, who was allegedly assassinated as he was at an event at a college in Utah. And according to these reports, it was Tyler Robinson's father who allegedly turned him in to authorities after he recognized his son. And this man, who some claimed was a minister and a member of law enforcement, according to some reports, said that it was after recognizing his son, he had to turn him in. And a lot of people are caught up in a lot of controversy regarding Tyler Robinson, because Tyler Robinson was not one of these far-left individuals like many people speculated would be the person who would take the life of Charlie Kirk. No, when it came down to Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old young man who is being charged with the assassination and murder of Charlie Kirk, he was a part of a conservative Christian family in Utah and was a part of a family that went out here and shot guns regularly, and oftentimes with them they used guns, and is somebody who is said to have supported Donald Trump in the past, even though he had registered as an independent and his family had supported Donald Trump in the past. And this is what's really drawing the ire of many on the far right, that it was actually one of their own individuals that participated in this assassination, which is by some who claim on social media was done because he allegedly supported a group called the Groypers, which was a part of Nick Fuentes, another far-right activist, and basically has a lot of people wondering if there's a division among the far right, because according to some reports, they say that this Tyler Robinson was basically motivated to take the life of Charlie Kirk because he didn't think he was further to the right or extreme enough as related to his beliefs. Now, all of these claims that are being made as related to the apprehension of the suspect basically show me a young man who definitely does fit the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And it looks like to me that when it comes down to this Tyler Robinson, he definitely was a man in crisis, who basically is fitting a very disturbing pattern that I've been seeing that's becoming among young men as they get onto cyberspace. Now, according to other reports, they say that this young man had basically was a shy, quiet young man, and what happened to him is what happened to many more of these mass shooters that I have been talking about in more recent videos, that he has been going on the internet to places like 4chan and Reddit and Discord servers and listening to far-right rhetoric. And as he was listening to this far-right rhetoric, he basically got caught up and started believing that rhetoric to be the truth. And as he believed that rhetoric to be the truth, this is where I believe what happened with this guy, Tyler Robinson, is that he wound up getting radicalized the same way many mass shooters and many terrorists in Palestine and other countries did. They go out here and read this misinformation, and as they read this misinformation, what happens is that these individuals start taking that misinformation as the truth and then start believing that they need to act on that misinformation in violent ways. And that's what's basically led to this whole incident of political violence that led to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I'm speculating what happened to him was that possibly this individual thought, oh, this guy's political views are not extreme enough and that he's leading people astray, so he felt he needed to do something. And this is a pattern that I'm seeing emerging among people who are a part of Gen Z and the generations coming up. A lot of them are not like Generation X or Gen Y or millennials in looking to, again, not passively sit there and let their government do what it does. No, these individuals like Luigi Mangione are believing that there is nothing that they want to sit there with their hands, and they want to take action. And they want to take action by, again, going to the extreme and taking the life of these individuals who they believe are making life bad for them and are not doing the right thing. They believe that these influencers need to be dealt with, or these corporate bosses, or even these politicians. If they don't serve the people, they believe in eliminating these people. And that's the scary part that I'm seeing emerging as a trend. And it fits into what Mr. Superboy was talking about as related to these younger people and how they are more racist than their great-grandparents who were around during the time of Jim Crow. I remember Mr. Superboy making a video talking about how these young people basically are caught up in, especially these white individuals, are caught up in racism, and I'm seeing that emerging as also part of that pattern. I mean, when I look at Charlie Kirk, here's a young man who was a millennial, basically caught up in spouting hateful rhetoric, and the next generation, which is this other young man, Tyler Robinson, basically caught up in the same hatred on the far right, and basically showing me that Mr. Superboy's observations as related to this racism getting worse in an era where we were supposed to have people who were supposed to be more enlightened is showing us how progressively worse things are getting as related to the state of this union. And when I look at this whole situation as related to this suspect, he definitely is a man in crisis who basically felt like he had nothing to lose as related to this situation and felt so strongly about things he would not even be concerned about his own life or the consequences of it. And that's what makes it really scary about this new crop of beta males. They don't even care about their own life. All they care about is whatever political cause they want to stand up for, and they feel like they have nothing to lose because no one really has invested much in them emotionally. Now, yeah, a lot of he came from a middle class background. Again, Luigi Mangione came from a rich background, but these individuals had nobody investing in them. But that's what makes these individuals extremely dangerous. Nobody invested anything moral in these individuals, and as they got on the internet, they got indoctrinated further into hate because they had a whole hate culture. I mean, I believe this young man came up in a hate culture inside of his home, and that further got exacerbated when he got on the internet. And as he was again caught up in these extreme ideas, this is what motivated him, I believe, to go out here and look to participate in taking out Charlie Kirk. And I look at this, and again, it just shows me how much worse things are getting here in America. And what's even more troubling to me as related to this whole assassination of Charlie Kirk is not just this young man believing that he needed to take action as related to, again, the whole polarized far right, but the whole polarized response from the entire country. Now, Charlie Kirk in and of himself was, again, an individual who spouted lots of hateful rhetoric about black people because he was, I believe, butthurt over the election of Barack Obama in 2008 and was so upset about the election of Barack Obama in 2008, he created this nonprofit looking to so-called debate. But what I've learned from my incident with the Passport Bros in 2019 is that when individuals are looking to debate you like this, what they're motivated to do is try to shout you down because they disagree with your talking points and they want to try to appear to be superior. And that's what Charlie Kirk was looking to do, I believe. And he was fixated on black people because he was so upset about the election of Barack Obama, and because he could not stand that reality of seeing a black man be president. This is what triggered this man, again, to create that organization, Turning Point USA, and look to try to, again, make America right as related to his so-called Christian views that go outside of the Word of God, outside of God's order, because in God's Word, God does not go out here and look for men to hate each other, but to love each other. And he doesn't go out here and look for people to participate in the idolatry of white supremacy, or to go out here and look to scapegoat one group for the failures of white America as related to its decades of decadence and its inability to go out here and compete effectively. That's what the guys like Charlie Kirk don't want to talk about, and they don't want to explain to their groups. No, what they want to do is distort reality, and distort reality to make black people boogeymen as related to their so-called plight, even though they're living middle-class lifestyles that are far better than any third world country. These individuals want to sit there and talk about how their America is being destroyed, but don't want to look at the rich billionaires who did most of the damage by sending most of the jobs overseas, or look at many of those wealthy people like your Donald Trump, who basically ran their company straight into the ground. No, they want to scapegoat black people, and what they want to do right now is try to distort reality to make it look like, oh, this was something that just was somebody else. It was a liberal's fault. It was transgender's fault. It was everybody's fault. It was black people's fault. But they don't want to look in the mirror, and they don't want to see the reality of the real world in front of them that really shows that this whole assassination was done by one of their own, so caught up in hatred of their, as related to their beliefs, and caught up in their own rhetoric, that they didn't believe that this guy was extreme enough, according to some reports. No, they can't fathom that truth, so you've got people all over social media making up their own truths, and that's the most disturbing thing that I've seen as related to this whole apprehension. I've seen that the apprehension basically is showing me how many white Americans who are racist just don't want to believe reality. No, they don't want to believe reality, and that this individual was one of their own who had been indoctrinated into their hateful rhetoric and became more hateful than the individual who was Charlie Kirk, who was out here spouting this rhetoric. And basically, these people don't want to believe reality, so they're creating their own realities, such as saying, oh, this guy was involved with transgenders, this guy was somebody who was again on the left. All the facts and the evidence are pointing towards a dip to this guy being one of their own, one who was basically indoctrinated by their own hateful rhetoric on Discord servers and other websites. And the reality shows us that this guy was a supporter of Donald Trump, basically came from a conservative family that supported Trump. This is what is being presented as related to facts, but you have individuals who are these racists who just can't believe reality. And again, they're living in their own world, showing us how Arkham certified America is, because America just doesn't want to take that look in the mirror, just doesn't want to take that look in the mirror at itself, because that's what the Trump presidency is showing us, that look in the mirror at ourselves, a look in the mirror that shows us the state of our union and the sad state of affairs that it's in, because a lot of these people basically are so caught up in their hatred and their envy and really angry because their smooth world has been disrupted. Their smooth world has been completely disrupted ever since the election of Barack Obama in 2008, because that disrupted their smooth world where they could believe white people could be divine and supreme and have control over this country, even though Barack Obama never did a single thing for black people. These people just can't stand the idea of a black man having any power in their country, and that's what's got them going to this whole extreme of saying they have to take their country back and believing they need to put black people in their place. And I would even go even further to say this is all part of their obsession with black people, because Charlie Kirk's obsession with black people is the thing that motivated him to create Turning Point USA. He had an obsession with black people even to the day of his death. I mean, this man, as he was asked about white mass shooters, which have been increasing in frequency because of the way America raises children, he basically deflected by talking about black gangs, but he didn't want to ever sit down and look at the bigger picture the way I have gone out here and looked at it, as related to seeing how this whole collapse of the American family was all due to the wealthy in this country looking to take the father out of the home and look to put the woman to work, and look at that as why we're having this situation with all of these mass shooters, because these wealthy individuals wanted to take this country out of the way of God. These so-called Christian conservatives wanted to again walk out of God's natural order, and this is why you have the chaos you have right now. Again, America reaping what it sows, greater than what it sows, later than what it sows, and still in denial about the truth about the religion of white supremacy, still in denial that you are being destroyed by your own people, destroyed by your own people who have their own, who are following your ideology, and your hatred is the thing that's consuming you. That's what's happening to most of these racist white folks. They don't want to take a look at the state of their union. They don't want to look at the mirror God is holding up to them for a second time with this second Trump presidency. No, they think they can go back to making America great again, when the whole thing is your nation was basically evil from day one and participated in great evil and goes back to doing even greater evil. That's what's going on here as related to the state of our union. And what's really even sad is that these people, again, instead of accepting reality as related to the dark state of our union, basically continue to fall further into the abyss, denying what's in front of them, denying the truth about themselves, denying the truth about their country, denying the truth about who Americans are and denying the truth about how racist this country is. Because when you go out here and try to almost deify and make a saint out of an individual who said that black women aren't smart and that the Civil Rights Act should not have passed and black people were better off in slavery, what does that say about white, racist America? Critical question I have to ask. I mean, you're putting this racist on a pedestal who represents the worst ideals of America, and when people criticize that same individual, these same conservatives who say that they're all about free speech, they start looking to censor people and take their jobs, no different than those on the far left who had to deal with that so-called shot or had to deal with individuals talking about the situation with the migrants. Again, this country is looking and it doesn't want to look in the mirror and see how they are just like the Pharisees and the Sadducees in Rome during the time of Rome. How the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the supposed holy men who were supposed to represent Christ during the time of Christ, basically were looking only to kiss the ass of the Roman Empire and didn't even acknowledge the Messiah who was standing right in front of them. They had holy God standing right in front of them, but these Pharisees and Sadducees basically sat there and denounced the Son of God right in front of him as he was standing right in front of them. And these people are just like those Pharisees and Sadducees, seeing that basically they're caught up in their sin, and so caught up in their sin that if Jesus came down to earth this time right now, they would be the same type of people who would crucify Jesus, and again talking about how they were about free speech when they were actually about serving themselves and looking to gain a place among men. That's what we have here with these so-called conservatives, who show us, again, they want to look at, they want to, again, talk about religion, but they are not about following God in any way, shape, or form. They're not interested in serving God whatsoever. No, these conservatives, again, go out here and spout hateful rhetoric about black people who they brought to this country and have basically been envious of, because we were the ones who did the work for them and project all of these things onto black people, like us being lazy, us being incompetent, when it was black people who built your country. And again, that's what they try to do. And as they go out here, these same racists, basically, they want to, again, keep talking about black people, even though it was one of their own white conservatives who participated in this heinous crime, a heinous crime that they participated in, because, again, each generation basically becomes more hateful. I mean, you have this guy, again, Charlie Kirk, a millennial who was raised in hate. You then have this guy, Tyler Robinson, a Gen Z who was raised in hate. And again, each generation, like Mr. Superboy has said, has become just as hateful as their great-grandfathers during the time of Jim Crow, showing me how this country basically is reverting back to the dark days of Jim Crow. And that's the scary part about this whole thing, is how people don't see how history is repeating itself because they don't want to live in reality. Something Professor Black Truth has talked about, living in reality, because when you live in reality, you can see the truth about a situation. Just like I could see Kamala Harris was not a fit candidate after Joe Biden was forced to retire. And again, Joe Biden was basically brought out here because the Democrats did what baby boomers did was not groom another candidate. Again, they were caught with their pants down, and these conservatives are basically caught with their pants down because now people see the truth behind, who are living in reality, can see the truth behind their hateful rhetoric and how their hateful rhetoric is turning into political violence. Because when you stoke up all these people with hate. It makes them escalate their behavior to believe that they need to take action. They need to go out here and participate in political violence. And again, while they sit there and talk about black people, it's white racists killing other white racists because they don't believe that they are hateful enough. And that's, again, something really scary. Again, you've got these, racists, looking to escalate things. And it's just a matter of time before they do something so extreme that something really could tragically happen. And again, these individuals, they don't want to look at themselves and see how far they have fallen. No, they look to go out here and make a saint out of a man who basically, said the worst things about black people, and not seeing how it shows the worst reflection of white racists and white people as a collective. I mean, Charlie Kirk was the worst of America. He wasn't looking to make America better. No, he was looking to blame black people for everything that went on, even into his last words, not looking to acknowledge the real reason for white mass shooters. No, the real reason for white mass shooters is because we socially engineered white children to become, especially the men, to become beta males. And because they are beta males, they're frustrated because life is not working for them. They can't go out here and get jobs. They cannot go out here and have relationships. I mean, they don't know how to function as men. They don't feel satisfied about their lives, so they look to destroy the world around them. That's something Charlie Kirk wouldn't talk about, because his whole thing was to debate people about black people when it wasn't black people. No, it was your own rich friends and all these rich people who created this whole situation. So according to some conspiracy theories, the Rockefellers and many others wanted to destroy the American family so they could make more money. But instead of making money, America is reaping what it sowed, greater than what it sowed, later than what it sowed, for getting out of God's natural order. And what's happening here as related to this whole situation with this Tyler Robinson shows us how much worse the man crisis is getting in this country, how much worse it's getting in this country because our men are not focused on being their best. I mean, Tyler Robinson had got a scholarship to college. He had a good GPA. He decided to quit college after one semester, went to electrical school, was about to get into a good profession as an electrician, but got so caught up in politics that all he could, was act on his feelings impulsively, not thinking about his actions. And now a father had to turn in a son, and as he turns in that son, we see a nation of people who don't want to live in reality, but still create fantasies and conspiracies to basically deny the truth about them, about the sad state of affairs of their union. Now, if you want to pick up some of my books like The Man Crisis and learn why we got to this point, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Drafted Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can drop a donation to the Cash App by clicking, or the PayPal by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get your copy of ISIS, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback and Kindle, Vampires Stalk the Darkness of the Eternal Night. Get your copy of Eternal Night in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.